Hey Geggy Tigers, it's your friendly neighborhood art teacher, Mrs. Kirkpatrick, and today we are going to be printmaking and marbling paper using a technique that needs shaving cream and food coloring. So before you get started, you need to gather all your supplies. Once you have your supplies together, then you might be ready to get started right away. You can just use cardstock or paper. This is just a flash card, so it's kind of thicker. It's more like a cardstock material. I also have some folded up construction paper, and you could also use printer paper. I also have some folded up printer paper that I'm going to try this on. So you can just use plain paper, but if you want to try to do some stenciling, then you can start to prepare your paper first. So to prepare my paper, I am going to, you can see here, I cut out a diamond shape and I just used tape to tape it across on the front of this piece of folded construction paper. So this is going to be like the front of a card. And so you can make these kind of as gifts for people or to send to somebody. So this is one way you can use this type of paper. So you can tape pieces like that. I have another piece of cardstock that I don't know if you can see that. I cut the edge and taped it to this piece of printer paper that I folded up to make a card. So this is going to block off part of that paper for when I print. That's prepared for later. I took a flash card, one of those cardstock flash cards, and I just taped masking tape all around all four edges, and that's going to help give it a white frame later. You don't have to do any of this, but this is all just little extras. And here I have the scrap paper of that poster board cardstock, and I'm going to tape this onto this folded up construction paper as part of a way to block it off for this card. So I'm going to grab some tape. I already have some pieces ready here. This is just masking tape. You can use any kind of tape if you like painter's tape or scotch tape. I like to make sure it's not too sticky because I don't want the paper to tear. And if your tape is really sticky, you can take it and just stick it to like your shirt to get a little bit of fuzz on there so it's less sticky. So I'm just going to position this how I want it. And I'm going to tape it in place. Just a little bit so it doesn't move around when I'm starting my printmaking process. So there is that, all ready to go. I also, this one, I had the white diamond that I cut out of a flash card and taped onto the front of this card. And here was the scrap from that, and I took the corners of the scrap and I cut those too. So I'm going to tape this on top of another flash card and use that as a stencil, so that'll have some area blocked off. I know it's white on white, maybe you can see a little bit. You will see once it gets printed on. So you just want to anchor this in a way where the tape is not going to interfere with where the color is going to go. And you'll see, keep watching, you'll see what I mean once we start printmaking, once we start marbling this paper. All right, so anchored that guy down, ready to go. I also had this one where I just started cutting out. It started off as a flash card and I just start cutting chunks of it out, and I got this. And to tape this down without the tape getting in the way, I'm going to put tape bubbles on the back of it. So I have a couple that I made, and I'm going to secure that with some tape bubbles. You can, for tape bubbles, if you make one and it's too big, you can cut it with scissors to help it. So you don't have to roll a teeny tiny tape bubble. You can just make a larger one if you need to, or you can get someone to help you. This is a great project to work with a partner if you are wanting to do printmaking, sometimes it helps to work with a partner. So I rolled up my tape bubble. I'm going to cut some little pieces off of it. And I'm just getting all these pieces ready to go. So there's the tape bubbles. And here's an example of, I drew with pencil, I just did like a thinking bubble, like a cartoon thought bubble. I'm going to cut this out so I can use it. All my paper is ready to go now. I have it set up so I don't have to worry about stopping once things get a little messier. And so now what I've done is I've set up my workspace. Now this project uses shaving cream that's the foam kind of shaving cream. And you don't have to get this brand, but it needs to be the kind that comes out in a white foam, not in a gel. It won't work with a gel. And this also needs food coloring. So I just have food coloring here. And it can be messy. So ask an adult before you do this. And you also need to protect what you're wearing. If you're concerned about getting food coloring on you, you should protect your workspace. So I put down a piece of cardboard. It's just part of a box of water. So I'm protecting my table with that. I'm using a plastic lid for the shaving cream, but you could use paper plate. You could use like a little pie pan, whatever you have at home that it's okay for you to work with. I also have paper towels ready to go. I have a plastic fork and a popsicle stick just to swirl the shaving cream. And then I have an old gift card. This is just an old Blick gift card, but just a plastic gift card that you can scrape with. And then my paper's ready. So I'm going to show you the first way to do this. And this is the most basic, and then we'll get a little more complicated from here on out. So I'm going to add some shaving cream to my plate. And I always put too much down. Don't put too much. All right, so there's my amount that I used. It's maybe like a little bigger than the palm of my hand. And it's pretty lumpy bumpy right now. So I'm going to use my fork, or you could use a popsicle stick or whatever. I'm going to smooth it out so that it's an even surface. And as far as how big to make this, I just need my paper to fit on top of it. So that's what I'm using as a size guide. Just a thin layer. It doesn't need to be super deep. Trying to make it nice and smooth. I like to clean my tools as I go, because if I need them and they have shaving cream or a color left on them, it's harder to make good progress. So I just clean them right after I use them, wipe them off. All right, so this is all spread out. It's pretty thin. I am going to drip some drops of food coloring on this now. I have 4 colors here. I think I'm going to start off with this neon red. And put about 5 drops of that. and then some blue. 4 accidental. I'm not using too much, but I also don't want a ton of white showing from my. So now I have my drips all on the shaving cream, and I don't want them to just stay that way, so I'm going to use either, you can use the end of the fork, you could use the tines of the fork, you could use a toothpick, you could use popsicle stick. So I think I'm going to try and start with my popsicle stick, and I'm just going to draw the end of the popsicle stick through the middle of these drips, just skating it along the top, swirling it. And the important part is to keep color on the surface of the shaving cream. I'm not over mixing, because if you over mix, you start to just get like a muddy brown color. And I don't want it to get all muddy. I want to see each individual color. All right, I think that's plenty. I'm going to clean off my tools. So this is ready to go. And I'm going to work on this surface here. I'm going to have it ready to go. I'm taking my paper or flashcard or whatever you have, and I'm going to set this on here just like that. And I'm going to gently tap and press so I make sure that the shaving cream is touching all parts of the paper. So I tapped that down pretty well, and I can see that the shaving cream is touching every part of my paper. So now I'm going to pull my print. And it's covered in shaving cream right now. So here is the cool part, my friends. I'm going to take my gift card, put this down on my cardboard surface, and I'm going to squeegee scrape this off. And you'll see as you do that, that the colors get a lot brighter. Oh my goodness. Oh, so awesome. Now, you might be kind of done if it's all swirled up, but this is still awesome. Look at those cool designs. I am going to keep using this on a couple more. So if you look, this still has a lot of really good individual colors showing. I can keep going with this. I'm going to take my popsicle stick and swirl it a little bit more to create some new patterns. And I'm going to see if I can get 1 or 2 more prints out of this batch of shaving cream. All right, so that is how, and this is, I'm going to show you the first one and the last one. I made 4 total prints, but this is the first one, and this is the last one I made, the first and the fourth. So you can see the first is a little more crisp with those color lines, and the fourth one, after I've been printing on the color and shaving cream, it's not quite as crisp, but it still is turning out really, really full of beautiful color swirls, and maybe they've blended a lot more on that fourth one. So I could probably make some more. I'm going to show you another technique. So if you don't want to just press paper onto your shaving cream, you can transfer it by scooping it. So I am going to show you, I have this printed here, I have the paper, I have a stencil cut out with that diamond hole in the middle. So I'm going to be putting that shaving cream color in the middle on top of my diamond shape and in the corners that are still showing. So I'm going to set this down on my mat, and And I'm gonna grab my old gift card, and you know what? I gotta clean it off a little bit. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna find a section of color that I wanna put right here in the diamond shape. And so there's a little bit right here that I think looks really neat. It's got a lot of blue and green in it. So I just scooped it up, kind of spatulaed it up, and I'm going to scrape it onto my paper, right on top of that stencil. And I'm going to come and get a little bit more over here. I'm just choosing colors that I like, and I'm going to get the rest of the card that's showing. Now, the more I scrape, the more the colors are going to mix. So it'll look more like a color wash if I scrape a lot. If I just kind of set the color down on the card and don't re-scrape it, then it'll stay more crisp. So you have to kind of play around with this to see what you like. All right, so now that I have added all these colors, I'm going to scrape all the extra shaving cream off. Really trying to get that off so you can see all those colors coming through. Scrape, scrape, scrape. All right, here's our moment of reveal. I'm going to get closer to the camera. Here is what I started with. I had it taped on, and there's how it ended. So you can see a little bit of that went underneath my stencil. How could I problem solve that? I think if I were going to do it again, so here I can see right where that happened. If I were going to do that again, I would probably have to tape down using tape bubbles to get a better seal. But I think this part looks really cool, and these edges look really cool. So I'm going to keep working, and you guys just take a look, and I hope that this gives you some really good ideas for how you can use shaving cream and food coloring to make your own marbled paper.